evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ndidi Anyanwu, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to the October 2019 Nextier Power Dialogue. The Nextier Power Dialogue is a monthly discourse with three main objectives: to share ideas and information in the power sector, to advocate for policy changes in the sector, and finally to highlight business and investment opportunities in the sector. For today, the topic for today is off-grid electricity market updates. To make this course interactive, please, there is a WhatsApp number on your pamphlet. We ask you to send in your questions, and then remember to indicate your name at the end of the question. Taking us through the discourse tonight is our moderator, Jade Solarawa, who is currently the Policy and Partnership Associate at OON, where she oversees stakeholders' engagement and strategic grants making, as well as communication. Prior to joining OON, Jade Sola worked as head promotions and partnership at Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, where she worked as part of the team to deliver on strategic partnership between LESTF and Coca-Cola, GIZ, and Ford Foundation. She was also responsible for creating strategic video content that raised the profile of LESTF and the activities of the beneficiaries of the fund. She also had prior experience working with the Nigeria Economic Summit Group between 2012 and 2014, where she resigned as the acting head, corporate communications. During her time at the NESG, she worked as co-project manager with the Secretariat that successfully delivered the first World Economic Forum on Africa, held in Nigeria in May 2014. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you once more for joining us tonight, and please join me to welcome Jade Sola to the podium.
Good evening, everyone. But thank you guys very much for having me. My name is Jade Sola Rawa, and I'm very excited to be able to bring this conversation to you this evening. So the one thing that will help me not to be nervous is when the time comes, I would love for everybody to be able to engage, ask questions, all the tough questions. And at the end of the day, I want everybody leaving the space feeling like, okay, you know what, we've spent the last 2 hours in a very constructive way, and we've done great things. And then I can report to my 8-year-old daughter at home that Mommy did good. So that's the only way that this is going to work. So thank you very much for having me. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce the people that we're going to be talking to tonight. So I'm going to start with the only other lady joining me. Her name is Damilola Ogunbiyi. Damilola is the first female MD of the Nigerian Rural Electrification Agency and is responsible for implementing the Nigerian Off-Grid Electrification Program and the Nigerian Electrification Project, which is a $550 million facility to rapidly increase the develop solar mini-grids and the deployment of solar home systems within Nigeria. She's also the Power Sector Recovery Program Coordinator. Previously, she worked as the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Power and the head of the Advisory Power Team in the Office of the Vice President. This is also having been the female general manager of the Lagos State Electricity Board. Everyone, please join me in welcoming Damilola Ogunbiyi. Welcome. Next, I'm going to introduce Mr. Luis Carlos Mirabaz. Luis, I hope I didn't murder that. Carlos Miro has a background on international cooperation and European affairs. He has been working in the renewable energy field since 2011 at different entities like the European Commission, the Alliance for Rural Electrification, and GIZ. Since 2013, he works at the Nigerian Energy Support Program based in Abuja. Currently, he heads the unit on sustainable energy access, on-grid and off-grid. Personally, he specializes in the development of financial as well as regulatory and legal solutions that promote private investment in the solar sector. Please help me in welcoming Luis Carlos. Thanks for joining us, Luis.
Thank you.
The next person that we have, This profile is very short, but not because he's not doing major things. His name is Michael Nwanchuku. He's the Renewable Energy Manager at Sterling Bank, where he facilitates a number of transactions in the off-grid space. So this is probably in relation to the fact that Sterling Bank just got into the space, so that's why his profile is so short. Please help me welcome Michael. And last but not the least, another man. Thank God for Mr. Damilola. His name is Segun Adaju. He is the President, Renewable Energy Association of Nigeria, RIAN. He's also the Chief Energizing Officer of Consistent Energy Limited and lead consultant of Blue Ocean Nigeria. He runs the Solar Direct brand that provides off-grid solar power for small businesses and a renewable energy consultant, and is also a financial advisor. Segun has provided expert services as a consultant on renewable energy to various organizations such as Solar Nigeria Program, funded by DFID, UNDP, Bank of Industry Nigeria, EcoBank Nigeria, USAID, Windrock International, World Bank Group. Let's start clapping for him. Federal Government of Nigeria and Henrik Ball Foundation. Please welcome Segun Adaju. Thank you very much, everyone. Welcome. I'm hoping that this is going to be like a different kind of conversation. So I come from the communication space, so I'm a little bit different. And I've always thought renewable energy was a bit boring. So tonight, we're going to try and make it a little bit interesting. And I want us to have like an engaging conversation and everything. So just to give you a little background, I'm super new in this space. I literally started, the first time I mean, apart from hearing about the solar street lights, right? The first time I really knew what was going on in this space was when I interviewed for my current job. I had no idea what I was doing. I just thought, you know what, they should like me, so let's go in there and talk to these people. And yeah, so this is probably like, my 10th month, so I'm pretty new to the space. So I'm going to be asking the panel tonight. You heard all of their, like this one and that one. So we're going to be breaking the conversation down. I want the average person like me here tonight to be able to go home and say, okay, you know what? I learned something. So we're not going to be doing the kilowatts and megawatts and all the watts. We're just going to be talking about what's been going on in this space in the past 12 months and how does it make my life as the average Nigerian better. Pretty much. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we're going to get into the program. And yes, sorry, I have my plenty notes as well. So I'm just going to give you a little background. So tonight's topic is on the off-grid energy electricity market, and it's pretty much providing an update on what's been happening in the past 12 months, pretty much. So nobody's a stranger to the fact that, power is a constant issue in Nigeria. I'm not going to go through all the statistics, but what we do know is that currently about 60% of Nigeria is either underserved or not even on the grid at all. There's a power issue. And this issue's been going on since before I was born, I can tell you. So right now, what we do know is that, okay, there's more interest in the off-grid space, and we have a fantastic person. I always say, if you want something to work, put a woman in charge. And that's literally what Damilola Gumbi has done in the past in our time at the REA. Anybody agree? Yes. So we do know that things are changing, stuff is going on in that space. So what we want to do is look at what's been happening in the past 12 months, and then see how that translates into what's going on with us. So again, one of the only things I'm going to mention as a background to this is the fact that now we have the REA, now we have the 30-30-30 agenda for the sustainable energy for all, and then we also have the fact that, okay, so this is from last month's meeting. I'm just going to read out a quick thing, and I want everybody to pay attention to this. One of the things that came out of the September's dialogue is the fact that the theme of that dialogue was progress report of grid electricity. And it highlighted the challenges and called for increase in the allocation of local concessional funds to promote sustainability and scale of the off-grid space. Now, please take note of this. While the international financiers were commended for their technical and financial assistance to the off-grid industry, caution was also expressed that the dependence on external funding sources could potentially increase financial risk due to unstable foreign exchange rates and inhibit the growth of the sector. Another thing that also came out of that conversation last month is about data. The The session also recommended strategic collaboration amongst the federal government of Nigeria, international organizations, and the local developers on market data sharing and integrity. Now, to start this session, I'm going to give each of the panelists a few minutes to talk about what's been happening in their space. And I'm going to start with Damilola, and I would like for you in about 5 minutes to let us know what's going on with REA in the past 12 months.
Okay. Is my mic on? Can everyone hear me? Okay, hello, and thank you so much for Nextier for having me today. It's the people cheering were actually my staff, so everyone get excited about it. They're the people that I have to sign off their pay slips every month. But honestly, I mean, it's been amazing in the off-grid space for probably the last 2.5 years when the new board of REA really came in and we decided we were going to focus on data-driven decision-making. So actually with the support of GIZ and some other organizations, we started just collecting data to have an idea of, everyone says there's, I think your stat said 45% electrified and 55% not electrified, but where are these people on the community level? Where do they exist? How much demand do they need? Because these are the type of market intelligence we believe the private sector needs. Once we got that, it allowed us to formulate what we call our off-grid electrification plan, which literally has about 5 tiers. One is the deployment of solar home systems, because we still feel that solar home systems, depending on the size, and please this isn't solar lanterns, because I truly don't believe that's electrification, deployment of solar home systems, the deployment of solar mini-grids in a sustainable pay-go way with the lifeline of anything between 10 and 20 years. We have the Energizing Education program, which is an amazing program to put independent power solutions into federal universities. There are about 37 federal universities and 7 teaching hospitals, of which we're working in 9, and we've just about completed 3, which I can talk to a bit later. And to also work with energizing economies. Sorry, I said a lot there. But energizing economies is to do with actually proving the fact that we can have sustainable mini-grids. A lot of people just have this thing that as soon as you talk to off-grid, it means it's not sustainable and it needs subsidy, end of. But with the markets, we realize that because of just the productive use and how much they're earning and the disposable income, they can actually pay really good rates to be sustainable. And then, you know, I'm not going to lie, we still have our capital projects. We still believe that, you know, even though we do off-grid, there are solutions where the least cost development way is to connect to the grid. So with all that data and a lot of meetings, took about 18 months, which is actually not that long if you're going for any type of World Bank program. We managed to raise 350 million from the World Bank. And on the back of that, 6 months later, 200 million from the AFDB. So currently now, I'm not lying, it's actually money we have. We have 550 million to help the off-grid developers basically grow. And it's really a subsidy model. So you have to bring investment as the off-grid, and we bring in the subsidy to make sure your project is viable. And that's where we're working at now. We signed our first 7 grant agreements on Friday, and it's a rolling basis. I hope people here actually want to get in the space. Please go on our website. Please apply. We've got an amazing team to work with. And yeah, so there's still going to be talk about challenges and all these things, but the truth of the matter is, I get very frustrated when people go, these are all the challenges, because when I first started, everyone said there's no money for subsidy. We found money for subsidy, so there's no money to help us with the other side. We found local banks that wanted to help. Oh, the market intelligence, we gave the market intelligence. The truth of the matter is, this game is not for everybody. If you want to do it, then do it. But you can't keep on finding excuses on why you're not in the off-grid space, and that's why we prefer to work with people like Ren, where are you, where the people who put their money where their mouth is. They get stuck in, they go to the communities, and no offense, not sit down and just talk about it at conferences. We just get it done. So that in a nutshell just gives you an idea of what I do.
Thank you very much, Damilola. Round of applause. See, I told you guys, if you want to get things done, put a woman there. And that is a classic example of what I meant. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to move on to Michael now. Michael is from Sterling Bank, and Michael will tell us how much they've given out. You know, she called figures now, 350 million, and then this. Oh, yeah, you tell us.
Well, good evening. My name is Michael, and I work with Sterling Bank. First, I know that usually banks are the subject of all the darts, all the gunshots, but nonetheless, I'll take it in my strides. So, why are we here? Renewable energy is an integral part of our heart strategy. At Sterling Bank, we have a 5-sector focus because we believe that we don't want to do shadow boxing. We want to focus on specific areas and have the desired impact in those areas. So we call heart sectors H for health, E for education, A for agric, R for renewable energy, and T for transport. So basically, we are here because we've decided to take a plunge into a sector that was before now not touched by other banks. So first, we decided that we have 180 branches across Nigeria. How do we, first of all, try this out? So I make bold to tell you that right now, 49 out of our 180 branches are off-grid. Ooh, right? And the thinking is that by the next 1 year, we'll have 100% off-grid. As all our new branches, the one in Aba, the ones in Lagos, are totally off-grid. Our head office annex is totally off-grid. So we are already walking the talk. That's on the first part. On the second part, what do we bring to the table? Or what have we brought to the table so far? We thought about it. What are the challenges within the sector? First is access to finance. I'll talk deeply on it afterwards. But we know that part of the challenges that developers are facing is interest rates, the almighty interest rates. So what have we done as a bank? We've been able to get support from development finance organizations like the BOIs. We also have Deutsche Bank, who have given us some funding for the sector. However, that one is tied to agric renewable energy sector, that space. So our BOI funding, for your information, all in is 15%. All right? And we're working right now. We just got wind of funds from BCBN that will further cheapen the lending to the sector. So access to finance is very critical. So we have provided access to finance to players within that sector. And I must tell you, we've worked closely with REA, and we've been able to support their energizing economies. We've done more than 30,000 shops. We have set aside 2 billion naira, out of which 500 million has been disbursed already. Right now, as I speak to you, we have about $300 to $400 million pipeline. Dollars, not naira, pipeline we're working on right now. So as a bank, we also thought about it. What else can we do? We said we'll give access to markets. So we developed an intelligent way to reach out to off-takers, because it's one thing to have renewable energy, solar home systems, and another thing to have off-takers. So we developed a platform, we call it Imperium. Imperium is like a Jumia, but it's dedicated just for renewable energy. So we said, okay, why go out, launch first? Let's try it in-house first. So at this first stage, we've tried it with our staff, and I tell you that more than, I don't have the exact numbers, a few hundreds of our staff are already plugged into Imperium. What Imperium does is that you have access, you're able to see your load, number of what you use in your house, look at the device you want, and there is financing. So the difference between us and Jumia and other online platforms is financing. So because we also have a fund, we have what we call Spectre. It's a community lending platform that we have used. You can get loans in 5 minutes. So if we plug that in, we'll be able to make a whole world of difference in this space. It's ongoing, so I'll speak to others. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michael. So I'm going to move on to Shego, and I'm just going to ask you, because one of the things that, when you give us your overview of the past 12 months, one of the things that Michael said is that about 49 of the branches are off-grid. Yeah. So how many of your members got the contract to do that 49 that is off-grid?
All right, thank you so much. My name is Shego Adaju, and it's a privilege to be here. I'm a member of the Renewable Energy Association of Nigeria. an organization that was set up about 3 years ago, 2016 precisely. We have over 110 members deploying renewable energy technologies. We're around about 5 technologies: wind, solar, biomass, small hydro, and geothermal. Although we don't have any member yet deploying geothermal technologies, but we have around these 4 technologies. In the last 1 year, it's been exciting for our members. And I would say thanks to, virtually everybody on this side of the table, starting from REA to development partners like GIZ under the NESP, to a bank like Sterling. We face the market. We are the guys on the field. Our responsibility is to generate electricity and meet the huge gap that exists. And today, I can tell you some of those things that we have done in the last 1 year. For example, Oxano Solar has a 240 kilowatt solution somewhere in Abuja here for a facility, commercial and industrial. One of our members, GV Project, just signed an agreement with Abuja Electricity Distribution Company to provide 1 megawatt under the grid, we call it, interconnected mini grid, to power Wuse Market under the energizing initiative of the REA. So you can see how all the links is connecting. It's the first of its kind, 1 megawatt, and is by a member of REAN. We have a 2.35 megawatt solar with battery backup and some backup generator also in Mushin, somewhere in Ogun State, by SolarMate Engineering, powering a cocoa processing facility. Today we hear about Bayero University Kano, okay, and the great things that REA is doing there. So I can say that several things have happened in the last 1 year, right from the very big stuff to the very, very tiniest one. So we have our members who are powering as small as barber shops, all right? The idea is go to the streets, provide a need for this gap that exists. Why should a barber be powering his or her shop using a small generator, displaced and replaced with solar on a commercial financing basis that is cheaper than what he was spending? So these are the kind of revolution that we're saying. And like I earlier said, bringing all the critical parties together has made it happen. I was in an event in Dakar last week, and it was clear that there are 3 main players, stakeholders in the industry that should jumpstart this revolution, which we're already seeing in Nigeria. Number 1, governments, and we're happy for REA that we have, interestingly, someone like Damilola also, and I agree with you. She's made a lot of things. You
have to agree, I'm a woman.
Right. So having a government agency or government itself, at times I just, maybe out of this place. I wish the whole of the government of power is around REA. Then we'll be doing a lot of things. Having development partners who can help us to jumpstart for the very short and medium term. In the long run, the commercial market forces to drive this. The grants and support will run out at some point in time. But business guys like us, talking to banks like Sterling, should make it happen. The money to fund this sector in Nigeria is already in the pocket of Nigerians, powering diesel or small generators every day. So even without looking outside for external funding, you can get it locally. Okay. To round up, we advocate around 4 key things: access to finance, standards and certification. We're looking at policy framework and also data, gathering and management and mining. And I can tell you that all the mini grids that were developed in Nigeria to date were done by members of REAN.
Bravo.
With the support of REA and the NESP. I read recently that Power Gen, Slaughter, is signing an agreement of the first RBF. It's fine. They also come to help us develop the market, but this market belongs to Nigerians. We have to take this responsibility to provide power for, the mass of people who need electricity. Okay. How many of our members have done this? Sterling Bank has funded, for example, my own company. Okay. Sterling Bank was the first bank.
That's why you were hesitating to answer, right? Because your company.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about my company here. But I know more than 25 members of RIAN that are already banked by Sterling Bank.
Sterling Bank, okay.
And they are providing funding for their businesses. I mean, I'm a former banker, and I was telling my friend there that, look, while I was in banking, it would have been very difficult for me to do this, what you guys are doing, because as bankers, we never believe that can happen. Okay. But today, we are seeing solar, wind, we are seeing major things happening. In just now, one of our members, Blue Camel, has rolled out solar street lights, generating almost how many megawatt hour per day? Almost 10 megawatt per hour per day of solar street lighting. So the whole of just now, Metropolis, you go there in the night, is lit, and it's on a commercial funding.
Fantastic. So I'm going to come back to you on some of the other things that your members are doing, but I'm just going to quickly go to Carlos, and from the perspective of the international agency and everything, can you tell us a little bit about what the NESP has done in the past year?
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting us to this event. NESP is a technical assistance program. As technical assistants, our main mandate is always to advise the government in a specific mandate. In this case, from our side, we advise the government in the promotion of investments for renewable energies and energy efficiency, and to open up markets for then development banks. The development banks come later on with the financial assistance. Yeah, that's our main mandate. Our program is co-funded by the European Union and the German government, and it is implemented by GIZ, the German Cooperation Agency, together with the Federal Ministry of Power. We also work with other ministries and agencies in addition to the Ministry of Power. Our approach, so we have been in existence since 2013, and in 2013 when we started, what we saw is there were a lot of donors already working on solar home systems, standalone, but not that many working on mini-grids. So this is why we decided to work on mini-grids, to focus on mini-grids. Specifically on off-grid solar mini-grids. Now we are in the second phase of our program since the beginning of last year, and we have also expanded towards interconnected solar mini-grids. Our approach has 3 legs. One of them, which is of course advising the government, providing advice to the government. We have provided advice to the government on policy, like the National Renewable Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Policy. We also work directly with the government, as Damilola said, on market intelligence. And sorry, Damilola, I'm actually repeating everything that you are saying, because basically we are advising the government. But then we work also on incentives. We have worked a lot with the REA, especially with the operationalization of the Rural Electrification Fund. We work a lot with the regulators as well. So the mini-grid sector is a regulated sector. You have NERC on one side. We supported NERC with the mini-grid regulations. But there are other regulators that are also important. You have the Ministry of Environment for ESIA, you have NEMSA for technical inspections, you have SON as well for equipment standards, you have the state governments for land, civil works permits. All these regulators need to be aware as well of mini-grids, how they work and everything, so that they can act accordingly. That's for the government. Second leg is private developers. So since the beginning, we have been providing technical assistance to developers when it comes to the whole project development cycle, plus also operations. Especially when it comes to operations, it's monitoring of performance, which is also important for the government, but also when it comes to demand stimulation. On the other side, regarding private developers, one of the main things that we have been doing as well is to support the associations. Yeah. It is important that the private developers also have a platform where they can exchange, not anymore as competitors, but rather as entities working in the same sector, so that they can also, for example, advocate for certain changes in regulation or policy. They can also approach directly manufacturers, or they can approach also the financiers as one. This is very important. The third leg of our work has been towards investors, financiers. So during our first phase, for example, we were exchanging a lot with the local commercial banks, but then there was a financial crisis in between 2016 to 2017. The projects that we were supporting by then couldn't close financially with the local commercial banks with which they were working, so we had to resort to alternative finance. We attracted, facilitated deals with BetterVest, which is a German crowdfunding platform, which is now very present in Nigeria. They are operating. They have continued giving loans to all the projects in addition to the projects that we were supporting by then. Access to finance has three main legs, which are three main components on which we, from our side, we work together with the investor. So there is one of them that is access to cheap money. We have already been discussing about it. Banks accessing intervention funds so that they can then lend. The second one is risk mitigation, which is, for example, warranties that can be given by the government to de-risk the projects. And this normally leads to less collateral requirements. It can also lead to a reduction in interest rates and longer tenures. And then risk assessments in general. So the banks need to understand how to assess projects before these projects are presented to them. They cannot rely on third parties doing assessments for themselves. Yeah? So this is also quite important from our side. We supported, for example, a due diligence methodology for mini-grid projects. Then let me just, I have like 1 minute, just like to tell you a bit the overview of the market, although I have already mentioned some of the aspects, but from our perspective, what we see is the market in Nigeria has a good, friendly environment for private investment as concerns mini-grids. Not speaking about solar home systems just because it's not covered by us, but there is also a friendly environment for solar home systems. And the market is maturing fast. This means, from my perspective, that you cannot say that the market is green, but the market is not matured yet. It is in between. Yeah? As Damilola said, and other panelists said, I see that from my side, over the 12 past months, the main milestone that has been reached is now we have grants. We have capital subsidies available in large amounts. Now we need to focus on the other side, which is access to finance. While as well keeping an eye on the absorption, the capacity of absorption of the market. So the private developers now need to make sure that they have enough capacity to use all the money that is available. Because any year that is lost in like money sitting somewhere because the developers do not have enough capacity to utilize it is also time that will be lost for the sector.
Thanks, Carlos. So I'm just going to stop you there for a minute, and I'm just going to quickly go to Damilola. One of the things that you mentioned when you gave your overview was you talked about data-driven decisions. And so, again, one of the things that I hear as a layman playing in the space is like, oh, there's no data, there's no data. So if you're saying from the REA side that your decisions are data-driven, and then everybody else is like, oh, we can't, so is there a disconnect? And where's this disconnect? And how do we solve this problem?
Okay, well, there might be a disconnect because they might not know where to go. So they can literally go to the REA website where there's a whole database for them to check what's happening. But more important is that we've done a universal access plan, which a lot of countries have not done, which actually shows the least cost way of providing power to Nigerians over the next, if you wanted to reach universal access by 2023, 6 years before SDG 7, is through off-grid, basically. It shows about 10% of that could be done on grid, but the majority would be from the deployment of solar home systems and solar mini-grids. That is huge because even I didn't know that's what it would come out as. And that is very powerful when an off-grid developer goes and says, the way to power the unserved in my country is through this, and there's actually data to back it up. if you want to even get community level data, like I said, we had a database where we basically took GIZ data, World Bank data. Everyone has done studies, but we realized that everything wasn't in one place. It could be improved. Not the functionality, the visualization could be better, but if you wanted to download an Excel spreadsheet that shows you where are the sites in Sokoto that would be most appealing for solar mini-grids, the information is there. What I believe has happened for way too long is everyone is taking everything that's happened on grid and just putting it to off-grid. So off-grid doesn't even have a good platform to start off with. Everyone just comes, oh, you want to do a power project, this is wrong, without actually just sitting down and just doing desktop research. And I do share with what Segun said, that it's a market for Nigerians, but the truth of it, I don't know any market that evolved without outside players coming in. They come in, Nigerians could be subcontractors sometimes, because we're trying to work at scale. So it's nice to say there's one mini grid here, one mini grid there, but I mean, our tender is 150 mini grids. Who's going to do it? You need to partner with different people around the world to get things done, because none of your equipment is going to come for here. So my whole thing is like, let's not shoot ourselves in the foot, right? Mm-hmm. Anybody who's developed their solar market or whatever, either brought in the Chinese, the Indians, is just to be secure on the way they do it and have a strong association. So the data is there. If you did need it, just send me an email or go on our website about what you need, and we will be able to give it to you.
Thank you very much. So I'm just quickly going to go to Segun, because I think as an offshoot of what she said, so two things. One is, where's the data problem? And what is this data problem? Because like Daniela said, like there's so much information on the website, because again, when we had an offline conversation, we're like, oh, you know what, let's drive data, let's get the right data, let's put it, let REA be the custodian. But if the conversation is that the data is already there, then what's the issue? That's number one. And then number two is, yes, it is a market for Nigerians, but like she said, I mean, again, not taking sides, but like she said, in this instance, right, there might be need for people to collaborate. So like the companies that are coming from outside of the country with the smaller companies, get the job together and execute. So is that something that Rian is looking to do, and how are you guys working on that?
All right, thank you so much. As regards data, right, okay, one of the advocacy, points and areas we look at is data. How do we gather data? So for example, out of the about 110 members that we have, even within us, it's a bit difficult to know what collectively, all of us, what have we done? Okay, so maybe this idea of competition, okay, my figures are mine, I don't want to release it to you, but we're breaking that down already. So it's pretty very important. And I also know at some point, we're also looking at a collaboration. I mean, like I earlier said, with government, that's REA, and development partners, to see. I know there's a platform on the website of REA to mine data. Okay, the data exists, but it's actually mining it that is the issue. Okay, so I have what I've done, but am I willing to put it down on the table and collate with other members? That's the challenge that we have. Resources are also involved. So most companies are at the startup age, local companies, I must say, and they are beginning to get to the growth stage, and so they are more interested in raising their own financial base, capital. They have limited resources to contribute to other factors like data gathering, okay? So that's why we need development partners. And I mean, from our Dakar event, we're talking to Google and a few others that support the mining of data in Nigeria. So that's about data. Now about the market. What I mean is, the market, I'm not saying the market is completely Nigerians who 100% drive out any foreign guy, that's coming on. No. But I'm saying that consciously. I also get asked this question all the time, that Rian, what are you doing? Local content. How do you achieve local content like the oil and gas industry achieved? I mean, it was done in oil and gas. So why can't we do it in renewables? But we know that even the initial funding, the capacity that you need, the technology to jumpstart a nascent market like this would definitely come from the foreign guys. Okay, so, but gradually over time, the government also must be conscious to ensure that ultimately in the long run, we will be left with our markets. Okay, so for example, I have to remain here. Either my business crashes or not, I must remain here. I don't have any other citizenship.
Yeah.
All right, so a foreign guy comes, set up a plant, it's not probably working well. He might decide to move to Sierra Leone tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't have that luxury, all right? So gradually, we must begin to introduce local content.
Okay, so I'm just going to stop you there and let Damilola. Sorry, I'm going to come to you in a minute, Michael, but I'm just going to let Damilola respond to that.
I'm sorry we keep having this back and forth, but it's a really important issue. I don't think there's a problem with local content. I think the truth of it, if we're being really honest with Ryan, is that the foreign guys get all the documentation. So for some reason, the local companies think because we're local, and that's why you find the GVEs and some companies always winning because they get their documentation right. So if I had a company for India that got their local CAC, there's a certain amount of documentation before you can get funding. There's a certain amount of documentation before you can get any DFI funding. But there's this whole perception that we're local content, we're government. Let's reduce the specifications because Nigerians, and we just wouldn't do that. And if they do, no, we don't. We don't.
We'll come to you in a second.
No, it's important. And it's important to also... It's important to note that the documentation needed to be part of an off-grid developer in our program is less than what's needed to be an REA contractor. So we did look at this, but the documentation to be an REA contractor, which is approved by our Bureau of Public Procurement, is more stringent than what we're asking for, because you can't ask people all the time for 5 years, how many companies have been around for 5 years, how many companies have been around for 2 years. But the key thing is that people just need to get themselves together, unless we're going to have the same local companies doing it and more people coming in. And another point on data, please. We are the only country that has the level of market intelligence. You don't go to India, you don't go to Kenya, you don't go to Rwanda, which everyone claims, and get the level of information we give. We did that because we realized that we hadn't had a census for many years. Some of the data you get in Bureau of Statistics might not be up to date. Yeah. But to mandate it like a right is what I have a fundamental problem with. Go and find out yourself. We give you an idea, and as a developer, you go to the communities. You don't sit down and tell REA to tell you what your tariff should be before you go in there. So
excellent. So I'm going to give you a chance, but before that, I saw Michael nodding, agreement, oh, the fire is not coming. But so one of the question that I have for you, Michael, is just on this same line. So what are some of the factors that would make a RIAN member, for instance, be eligible for facility from your institution or maybe any other commercial bank as well? Because now we have documentation and things like that. Do you find that in your space that's also a challenge for the operators?
Yes, I will agree with everything she said, without pulling any punches, because documentation is everything, because you see a developer comes to you, he wants some funding for some projects, and he doesn't have a list of off-takers. It's very critical. For banks, we are very risk averse, and we must monitor our funding or funds end to end. So we should see an exit strategy. Collateral for us, we've been able to, within the space, make, bend backwards to say to a certain threshold, we won't require tangible collateral to secure your loans. So the equipment we are financing would be the collateral for the loans. So collateral is out of it. So when you even take away collateral for a certain threshold, you still have problems with documentation. Simple things like cash flows, management accounts, financials, company profiles that are detailed, these things can be a drag for these developers. And sometimes it's disappointing. You're asking for 50 million naira to finance a project, and you don't have simple financials. So we need to go back to the drawing board. And I must add at this point that some people say that local banks do not do equity investments. That's not true. We do. We've done equity investments at Sterling Bank. We've invested in renewable energy companies. Do your research. We've done that. Okay. A simple example that comes to mind is Zola Electric. We've done equity investments. And sometimes, I must also add, most of our local players are drunk in grants.
That was literally going to be the next question, but
Yes.
please, yeah.
They are drunken grants. And if you are doing some business models, we need to do a profitability analysis to see that this project is economically viable. Take away the grants from it. Is there a business sense, a business case for this particular transaction?
Michael, I'm just going to stop you there for a minute, and I'm going to ask Carlos this, because I do know that some of the mini grids that you guys have been involved in, you gave grants to them. So do you think that this is now becoming a problem where people are so used to being spoon-fed and there's grants for everything and there's so much international financing that they're not doing the needful in terms of making sure that they're able to like show their businesses as being commercially viable?
Okay, let me, first of all, let me say that, I mean, we do not give grants as GIZ, we support the government in providing the grants. But the main point there is, like, let me give you an example of what we have been doing from our side, yeah? From our side, we have an exit strategy, long-term vision of mini grids being completely freed of this burden of like looking for capital subsidies, yeah? It is something that the government, of course, really would like to see as well. Yeah, it's not only donors; it's also the government that would like to see these kind of things, these projects running purely on a commercial basis. The truth of the matter is, it is not possible for the moment. Yeah, mini grids are not viable for many reasons at the moment. Not fully viable, but what the government can do to bring the mini grids as close as possible to that target in a gradual, on a gradual basis is to reduce the level of capital subsidies that they are giving each time that they launch a tender. Yeah? From our side, we have supported now 2 tenders, one in 2015, and now we are supporting currently 2 tenders. The amount of capital subsidies that we are giving is different. Yeah? We have reduced it. And at the same time, what we have increased is the level of documentation that we request for. Why? Because we are anticipating the banks that will need to finance these projects, yeah? To ask exactly for the same documentation that we are asking for. So from our side, we also see this point, which is very relevant, of supporting the companies or encouraging the companies through these tenders also to get their documentation right, so that then from there they can go to the local commercial banks. The local commercial banks can start lending. It is a gradual process for the banks. The banks will not say, okay, now we do 70% of the project of the cost of the we do a loan that covers 70%, for example, of the project costs. They will go gradually into the into this sector, yeah, just to taste the waters first until they can really scale up from their side their operations. So.
Excellent. Okay, before I come to you, Segun, I'm just going to ask Damilola this. So what are some of the, I mean, okay, so we've talked about, you know, the challenges that we have with the local operators and, you know, maybe not stepping up to the plate. So what are some of the strategies that your agency is adopting to kind of like, maybe, let's say, clean up things, clean up the image, so that way, you know, it stops, you know, the whole off-grid space stops being this high risk, you know, the gentlemen like, you know, the Sterling Bank guys and others don't want to play in. So are there things that your agency is doing to kind of like just make it more attractive for everyone to come in?
Okay, so I first don't want to make this belief that no off-grid developer has documentation. They clearly do. Do you know what I mean? But it's a handful, and you have to be honest, because it's a handful of people who have even gotten finance. What we have to do is just constantly increase that number. So right now in the RA, we are starting something, or we started last time, of monthly meetings with developers who want to do solar home systems or solar mini grids, which just happens in our office, to tell us what are your issues, what are your challenges. We actually have a guide we developed with Power Africa on all the due diligence a bank will ever ask. So you don't go to a bank asking which document, and that is again available on our website. Everything that you'd possibly ask. There's some naughty guys and people say, how do I even develop a model? So there are examples of model that you can fit in things. This also reduces their development cost, because a typical model costs about $10,000, and for every off-grid developer to be doing that. So we realize that the level of training and there's a level of you know, development we have to give, because we also strictly abide by our local content. So yes, a foreign person might come, but they have to show us the local content element. They also have to show us the gender element. So to be part of our World Bank program, you have to show me a 30% female profile. That's it.
Again, for the females, let's have it.
And the local content is just as serious. So it's not, but it's really, really a key thing because it's been such a slow driving element. And then you do have organizations like Power Africa has an amazing program on their off-grid side of one-to-one with developers. This is the first time that people, leave government, all the money that comes to the government assistance, they're like, no, let's focus on private sector. Let us take these companies, help them develop, help them find financing. But you have to be of a certain seriousness, for them to do that. So if you are, I don't want to say serious, but if you are passionate and you really want to do this and you understand the space, I believe that the assistance is there, but it's not an easy thing to do. Electrification on and off grid is not an easy sector to be in.
Excellent. Okay, thank you very much, Damilola. So I'm just going to now, you've heard everything that's been said. So I would like to know in specific terms. These are issues, right? Yeah. The big issues. What is Rian doing or going to do in the short term or in the medium term to make sure that, like the next time we're having these conversations, then everybody's going to be like, oh, Rian's literally gone from here to there. So what's going to change? All
right, thank you so much. A quick reaction. Damilola, you're a partner, and I keep saying it everywhere, even Dakar. One of your team member was with us, and I openly said so. That one of the best things that has happened to renewable energy space in Nigeria is to have you here. Truthfully. I mean, I can say that, all right? Because several of the projects you have done has set the pace for companies like ours to be able to replicate. I mean, Bio University, for example, all right? All the mini-grids. So my perception of local content should be well understood, and let me just explain. What I'm saying is, for a new company, for a new industry, so my company is just about 3 years, okay? So I don't have the 5 years, 10 years, 15 years of developers who have operated in Kenya and India. Mm-hmm. I'm saying that there is what we call pioneer status, for example. So new companies, you can give them pioneer status. There could be some tax holidays for them to gather themselves together. You can consciously include in partners who are coming from abroad to say, look, there should be technology transfer, gender balance, and some percentage of your staffing should include Nigerians, so that in 3 years, 5 years' time, there's transfer of knowledge. Also, there should be a time frame that you are importing now. Agreed, it's a free market. It's difficult for a solar panel company in Nigeria to compete with one in China. But there should be a conscious effort to say you are importing those products now. In 3 years, you should assemble locally. In 5 years, you should have a plant here. I don't think that's out of space. All right? I'm not saying I will not support lowering the standard for Nigerian companies. I'm a former banker, for Christ's sake, and I know how documentation is critical. All right? So don't lower the standard for us, but consciously ensure that Nigerians are in the game, in the room, and we develop capacity just like you're doing right now. And then I can tell you, in 5-10 years' time, the likes of GV, when I met him, Ifeanyi Olajaka, he's the star boy of the industry. So you can...
Star boy is right there. Everyone can turn and look at the star boy. And we can like, can you wait, hey, please? Star boy, can you wait?
Wait. All right. I met him as an undergraduate in the university, 3 of them. And today he's the... I don't know about Sub-Saharan Africa. He has the largest mini-grid developed, maybe in Nigeria. Okay? He just signed an agreement last week that was like... in West Africa, right? Okay. So we have people that over time, they can develop that capacity and they will own the industry in 5-10 years' time. Members of RIAN, I can tell you, we are very strict, and in terms of to join, there are documentations you have to meet. And then we don't take it for granted. So please, we thank you for your support. We're asking for more, right?
Okay,
so what are we going to do? Our plan is short, medium, and long term. In the short term, we are putting, and I'm happy, having friends like Patrick, Kibo, and my brother standing there. I have put on the cap of an Igbo guy. Truly. These are business people.
So your name will be like Shego Bina.
Yes, please, you can now Bina to my name. Look, despite, I mean, we can't keep talking about challenges. In fact, the fact that there's a challenge in the power space, that's why I'm in this industry. That's the mindset. So while we're advocating for support, incentives, we are going to the market to do the business. The guy in Alaba does not have the time to even attend conferences. He's selling, so we are having that mindset of, in the medium term, let us keep powering what we can power. How many barber shops, over 1,000 plus that I have done? Let me go keep engaging with barbers. When there are conferences, we come and advocate that, yes, please support us the more. And I'll go back tomorrow to Lagos and go and meet the barber shop in Mushi in the medium term. So we keep pushing the market, while in the medium to long term, we are advocating for the support that will help us to scale. And we have several of our members. I mean, one of our members just raised early this year, about $9 million Series A funding. It was energy. Energy. It was like, you mean Nigeria can raise that amount? All right, so...
Oh, just by the way, Olon was a part of that. I work for Olon.
Exactly, Olon was an investor, okay?
Just so you know.
Right, okay, so I can tell you that the industry has taken, it's gone beyond taxing, it's taken off already. And I can tell you there's no stopping this industry. To power Nigeria, it is distributed renewable energy. Strictly.
Excellent. Glad to hear that. So for everyone, we're going to have question and answer session shortly. But just, I know, there was already a question coming, even when there was not supposed to be questions.
Sorry, I just wanted to note that the reason why GV could do the program with Abuja Disco was because REA gave them the data to do it.
So thank you very much for saying that, because it actually does bring something to mind that I was going to say when Shegun was talking. And I think the information is out there, because one of the things that you mentioned was about being able to get a business model and everything. And I would say, for instance, that Olon recently just commissioned a publication that talked about electrifying the underserved. That's collaborative business models for developing mini grids. So things are out there. I do know that there's information. It just takes for people to be able to make sure that they chase after that information, access it, and then do the needful. But one question that I would definitely like to ask before we throw open the floor to the audience is about standardization and certification. And I'm saying this because of the average layman that is out there. So again, before I came into the industry, my thought solar was street lights, they don't work. What are you talking about? And when you talk to people on the streets, the first thing they would say to you is, oh yeah, I've heard about it, but does it work? And that's a huge question. And so what's Rian doing to make sure that, the right standards, because it's the once bitten, twice shy business, right? So you spend some money, you get a solar home system, you have it for 2 minutes, and the next minute is gone. Who am I talking to? My money's gone. Who am I talking to? So what are you guys doing to make sure that you sanitize that space and everybody within there can account or be accounted for?
All right, thank you. So some of those steps we're taking is to also engage with the agency, the authority in charge of standards, and that's Standard Organization of Nigeria, that you need to regulate this industry. I mean, it's not helping my business because I want to deploy a solar solution, and the guy will tell me, the last one that my colleague did in another town is not working. So it kills my market for me. So it is in our own best interest to ensure that there is standardization. And I'm also happy about what RA and NESP did under the mini grid. I mean, they set standard for even the distribution assets to say, look, if you want to be compensated when the disco comes to meet with you, you must up your standard in terms of the network. So it is setting the base. We support that completely. We are in discussion with a program by DFID, I think ACE, the ACE program, on supporting standards. And I think they chose about 6 countries to say they would deploy equipment that would test solar panels so that there's regulation in the industry, right? We are also engaging even with NEMSA, okay? We have a working group on quality assurance to see how can we engage with NEMSA to standardize installation. So what kind of cable should you use? What minimum size of equipment that will deliver energy to Nigerians? Because if you charge or if you deploy a solution that is not working, I mean, the customer is not favored, and then the industry is at risk also. Then finally, I started an engagement with a big brother of mine, okay? He's at FCCPC, we call it now. I mean, Consumer Protection Council, that's what I know. Right? To say, look, how can we have a platform where you install solar power and it doesn't work, you make a complaint to CPC. And then we start the process from there. We're also looking at a situation where all our members will have what we call quality code or stamps. Just like you have ICANN, surveyors, they have stamps. When they do a report, they put it in there and sign. So if for each of us we have codes and numbers, I do an installation, like I'm powering one of these universities down there in the south on solar street lighting. Yeah. I engrave my number or my label on that solar street light. If it doesn't work, there should be a number to call, just like the NAFDAC and rest. So that in the long run, if we have, in Ghana, in Kenya, for example, if you are not certified to do solar installation and you go do it, two people are at risk. Number one, the installer can go to jail. Number two, the customer that allowed somebody who is not certified to install can go to jail. There's nothing bad in starting it from here.
Okay, excellent. Yeah. Thank you very much for that. Yeah. So one last question for you, Michael. Okay. And I just want to know what you think the prospects are. So right now, Sterling Bank is operating in that space, right? But there are very few of you. I think I've heard just about Sterling, I've heard just about FCMB. But there are over 20 banks, at least that I know, in Nigeria. So what do you think the prospects are for getting like full-blown commercial involvement in the off-grid space? Because truth is, this is the space that's going to power Nigeria. I think by now, I've given up on the grid. So,
okay, well, I'll say that statistics has it that Nigeria spends about $14 billion annually on generating sets. It's mind-blowing. So we have no choice than to invest in off-grid solutions, captive power. So for bankers, for us as a bank, our brand essence is enriching lives. So in as much as we are focusing on the commercial and industrial clients, we are doing the solar home systems, we are more particular about the micro and mini rural, beneficiaries. So, for example, we have partnered or we're partnering with several developers to reach out to the hinterlands, people that can afford the conventional power, people that have been, burning candles and the rest, so that we can have a mass market. So in terms of prospects, the prospects can only get better. So banks, I believe, other banks, that is, are coming to the realization that, look, we need to play in this space. We've been getting calls. People are trying to poach our staff because we have the knowledge. That's the truth. We have the knowledge of the sector. We've been in the sector before we even launched out. We spent one year incubating, doing the research, understanding the markets, what are the risks. We invited Carlos to Lagos a couple of times. We had sit-downs with Carlos, with other development agencies, and to unlock all the potentials of the market. It's a work in progress, though, but we'll get there.
We'll get them. Thank you very much, Michael.
My name is Engineer Mohammed Baba.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I can see a lot of clapping and congratulating each other here, but I'm sorry we are not in that state to clap for each other. The gentleman here, I don't know his body, and I'm not sure that in the first place, this space is full of non-engineers. The people who are benefiting in this solar are non-engineers. And at the end of the day, you find that they will be given project, they will do the project, and the project will fail. And the effect is that it is affecting those of us that are doing the... Yeah. I will ask the question, please.
Can we
Mrs. Demilola, you agree with me that Kano State, the Kano University project is not working as it is now. So, but this guy is listing it as one of the area achievement, and we are all clapping for it. That is so wrong. Yes, the Kano Bayero University.
So is that a question? Is that a statement of fact that it's not working, or you're asking?
No, okay. That's a statement that we want you to comment on. Secondly, the issue of documentation you are talking about is just too high. And some of us that are in the northern side of the country have not had clients Like I can do 3 MVA, the 3 megawatt that was done. I can do it personally. And some of the staff of REA know that I can do it, but he keeps saying that it's not. There's no way I can have access to an EA to even present my company to be given the chance. And the reason is that he is saying that I have not done up to 60 or 100 kilowatt, mini project.
I wanted to answer this question because it really vexes me how Nigerians put Nigerians down. The Kano University project is working. If you want to go there tomorrow morning, I will personally pay for your ticket to go and see it working. If you have any disputes, we can send you the online link so you can see how much power it is producing. It is the largest solar hybrid project in Africa. Instead of us to be congratulating it, we're stating facts that we know nothing about. So I just wanted to state that point, and please take me up on my offer. You know, what flight goes again, Arik, anything, we will pay for you to go, and accommodation.
I don't have a question, I have a contribution. The madam at Aria, and it's important, please.
My
name is Ricketts Olugbemiga. I'm a registered architect with Akon, and I'm particularly interested in this. The challenge that is being foreseen, this is my first time in any program like this. The challenge being foreseen is valid. In the profession I am, my primary profession, architecture, we are being run over by people who are not architects on the one hand, and by people who are not Nigerians. I want to plead with you, ma, that as you've started, as he also said you started, make a conscious effort, a deliberate policy focus, that in the next 10 years, 80% of whatever is going to be done in Nigeria as per solar is run by Nigerians. It's important for our survival. It is important for our sustenance. No matter how we don't know now, in 10 years' time, we should know. So please make it like a deliberate effort, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your comment.
Okay, so thank you for your question. Again, you said you are interested in the space and you're coming to the forum in the first time. So it would be good if you just did a little bit of your research and realized that I think in REA, 97.3% of our projects are done by Nigerians. Even the foreign contractors that we had for the largest solar hybrid project had to employ 92% Nigerians, and every single subcontractor was Nigerian. So when we have this thing, I don't know where we see it. I don't know if you see the swarms of Chinese people or Indian people in the villages installing solar home systems. I haven't seen it, but if you do, please let me know. It's not a deliberate effort, it's just what we do.
Thank you very much.
Morris Smith, this is a financial question based on technical points. When you're looking at the larger mini-grids, do you take into account how close they are to the grid? Because in the future, we do wish to connect all the large ones up. And your optimal design financially varies significantly if you think that in 5 years or 7 or 8 years you would be connecting to the grid, as opposed to if you're well away and it'll be 15 to 20 years. This is particularly the case for solar. Thank you.
Excuse me, who's your question directed at? Do you have anyone specifically that you'd like to answer
Well,
it?
probably Dami.
Okay, thank you very much. So
my name is Abdullah Sharbu Junaid Synergy. Yes, Mr. Selimbank, let me quickly ask you. The question I want to ask, yes, Selimbank, yes. One thing I want to quickly ask you, you said you want to go to the rural areas to at least do most of your investment. Is it that cheap that at least the rural people can pay for this whole thing? Madam ROA, I do not cherish your kind of job you're doing, really, but I think you're going to have a lot of difficulties. But what are you going to do in another 5-10 years to at least reinvigorate this whole issue of energy in Nigeria? Mr. Obina, the new Obina of the town.
okay, one question.
Yeah, see, Mr. Obina, the business model you're also putting in place, are they going to at least help Nigerians to making sure that we, the people of this country, achieve what we really want to achieve? Mr. Carlos, sir, please, I don't know where you're coming from, but you see, you're talking about wonderful policies and advice you've given to the government about what should be done, about what we are also trying to do in Nigeria. See, can you at least also give Nigerians another wonderful model that can at least drive this wonderful project to the next level? That's
My name is Hakeem, and I'm in the solar home system space. This is my first time coming to one of these. I personally don't like to come because Nigerians, they always miss the point. First of all, most of you will fail in mini-grid because you don't partner. If 3 of you have done 20-20-20, you form an alliance, you create an SPV, then you can qualify. But everybody wants to be a master by themselves. If you're an engineer in electrical, the other guy is a marketing person. You come together and you start creating companies that are built on alliances and partnerships. That's how the Western world does it. Why is UK or GIZ sitting on a table with REA, World Bank is coming in the middle? These are big organizations that come together and they find a common problem and they have a common solution. Then people are standing up saying you are an engineer, you are an architect. So what? It doesn't matter.
Thank you.
A solar home system has been designed in such a simplified manner that an uneducated adult can install it. So your qualification has no relevance.
Is that what is the government doing for the teeming youth? Because the population of Nigeria, the 60% of the population are youths. All this investment they are doing now and creating, if they did not educate or carry the youth along, in the next 20 to 30 years, some of these projects will go down because there will be no Nigerian, most of the people to maintain it are not there.
Thank you
Some
very
projects go down like that. And what is the bank, the financial institution doing to support the ordinary, the layman on the street, the poor people, so they can get this education as well?
Thank you, Ernest. Thank you.
They are the people who work for me and they're people who determine things. Other things that we try to do as part of the Energizing Education program, we've designed renewable training centers in every single university. So even after the project, even after we leave the project site, there's a training center where everybody at the university can come and learn about renewable energy. So those are the things we're trying to do. The other things is in this terms of data, we have these things called energy auditors, and I think everybody's young, and there's probably about 600 of them around the country as we speak, trying to collect information. More can be done, but it's important to let you know that the young Nigerians are the ones formulating the policy and actually implementing in this space.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
I had a question from Morris about the distances of the grid. That's a very valid question, and that's the type of things we advocate in the model. There's been a bit of issues, Morris, in terms of even getting the DISCO to be able to tell you when they're going to eventually get to the community. So we have pretty much started our subsidy on communities that are quite far out, that we believe nothing is going to come in the next 15 to 20 years. But that's a very valid question.
And then I think we had one question from Alaji Abdullahi. Can you repeat your question? Because even I didn't get it. You had so many questions.
For me, sorry.
No, so there was a question for the Sterling Bank. But what was your question for Damilola?
Yes, for me.
What was your question for her?
I don't cherish my job as well.
Okay. Excellent question. Thank you.
I feel like we're doing it now. I don't think it's a 5-10 year timeline. I think the time has happened now. The evolution is happening. The partnership is happening. The funding is coming together. And hopefully in 5 years' time, we'll be having more conversations about how many millions of Nigerians have benefited, not that we're going to start anything new. So that's my response.
Okay, thank you very much. I think Abdullahi also had a question for
right.
Shegun.
Okay, so my name has stuck now, Obina, right? Yeah. So Obina, what are we doing? The business model is very simple. The business model is to shift your current spending on other sources of energy, especially generators, to renewable energy. How does it happen? Banks offer consumer finance. We have benefited from that a whole lot. Many of our members, so households, small businesses, You can assess, solutions, and then you pay over time. For example, barbers pay me 5,000 per week, which is cheaper than the 7,000 or 10,000 they were spending before. And in 2 years, they own the system. That's why I say the money for this business is actually in our own pockets. It's local. That's the business model. And that's what, that's what telecoms did. And with pay-as-you-go technology, it's easy. You buy some token, and then your system goes on. Once you exhaust that, it goes off, and you have to buy. So it's a proven business model that... Then on the issue of the youth, I must tell you that, for example, if I is a youth, and I'm correct to say that, but there are plenty of them in the industry. And for RIAN, we also do something very strategic. We are partnering with institutions that are training. There are about 12 or 14 of them that GIZ also supported. Right. So they train installers, including women. And RIAN, we partner with these institutions, including the Lagos Energy Academy, which Damilala also started. That's how I met her in Lagos. So once they finish their training, we take them on as interns. We spread them across all our members. They understudy for some while. Some of them, we employ them. I have 2 of them employed with me. Yeah. And then, we sustainability. Finally, I also agree that, for example, we form a consortium under RIAN. My very good friend there,
for Akim,
Mr.
right?
Shagaya. Yes. Okay. So we found out that individually, our capacity could not meet the threshold of some of those bids. So we came together about 12 companies under RIAN, and we formed a consortium.
And carried out the job.
And we bid it. We're bidding. We bid it for the mass. For one reason you can't win every time. That was our first time. We didn't qualify. We bidded for the IMAS, and we're also hopeful. If we don't qualify, we will keep bidding until we get it. Yeah, so coming together is very important. I'm an economist. Sulaiman is an economist. And Sulaiman is one of the best things that's in the industry, right?
Thank you, Shegun. Yeah. So thank you. So I'm going to give Carlos a chance to, because there was a specific question to you as well from Abdullahi.
Yes, I think it was it on local content, yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
And then I'll come to Mr. Sterling.
Okay.
So Carlos, 1 minute.
Okay. From my perspective, like looking at the mini-grid sector, yeah? Like Nigeria has one of the best frameworks that there are in the world at the moment, yeah? And part of the responsibility for that goes as well to the government, yeah? The government here in Nigeria has been very open, very ready to support off-grid, including mini-grids. Without the government's commitment to support the mini-grid sector the way they have done it, it wouldn't have been possible. Yeah. At the same time, I would like to tell you one thing. Most of the companies that are working now in the mini-grid sector in Nigeria are run by Nigerians. They are purely Nigerian companies. They are the ones that have been benefiting from most of the tenders, for example, from the REA that we have also supported. I can tell you, I can give you the list, you can look at it. It's purely Nigerian companies. All of them current certified, NEMSA certified. They are engineering companies. You cannot go into this sector without that. Of course, then you need a legal department, you need a financial department, because you are going into investments. It's not anymore a contract. Yeah, you are investing into projects, and from there you also need legal and financial backup. Yeah.
Thank you.
One of the things that I would say from our experience in the sector, what it is true, and maybe from there we could then see how to address this issue. It can be that then there is a stronger focus maybe on the north on that is the companies in the north tend to have less experience, tend to be less ready when it comes to investments. Yeah, the legal side, the financial side, maybe they are lacking a bit on this, compared to companies based in Abuja and Lagos, and that part could be addressed through a technical assistance facility, yeah. Something like this. But that's something that I leave in the air. From our side, we are already exploring this possibility. I don't know if it will ever materialize, but that could be something that the donor could do easily.
Thank you very much, Carlos.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Carlos. So, Mr. Sterling, how are the people in the rural area going to pay for this?
Okay, I was going to allow Hakeem answer that question on my behalf. Unfortunately, he just stepped out. But nonetheless, although in the rural communities, they are very Spartan, they just depend on basic things, charge their phones, watch maybe small fans, small lights, and all that. But they still have energy costs. Expenditures are also always tailored to those energy costs. So they buy small. I pass my neighbor, every day they spend 500 naira per day on the average. And if you sum that up, it comes to a huge cost. Right. So we have products now in the market that are power as a service, where they charge them, say, 200 naira per day or 1,000 naira per month, as the case may be. So these are very basic things that will allow them maybe have their small fan, depending on their capacity, watch TV. So in terms of affordability, they will be able to afford those products. So,
thank you.
All right. So then next, I forgot to mention this. You know, while she asked me a question as per the future, as per the possibilities. Yes, because we are sector focused as a bank, that means we have sectors that we have a hold on, as health, education, agri, and transport. So we believe that with renewable energy, at this point, we have even plugged it as part of our offerings. When we go to a school, you say, hey, how much are you spending on generators? Why don't we convert your energy source and we finance it?
Excellent.
Go to a hospital, we say the same
Well
thing.
done.
All right.
Thank you very much, everyone. Okay, so I have probably 10 questions or more on the WhatsApp. So I'm going to start with the first one. This is directed to Damilola. I know, right? So this is from Treasure Ekpeyong from APGC. I don't know what that means, but he or she would love to know the amount of power in kilowatts or megawatts functional from all commissioned REA of grid, as well as the number of functional renewable energy sources in Nigeria.
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. I know the university project will give us about 28.75 megawatts. The REF project, 12 mini grids will give us roughly, I don't know. I can email her and get back to her. Okay. And I don't know the solar penetration because of answers that Segun has already given. A lot of people don't want to share information and share data about what they've done. And it's a real shame because it can improve the market greatly. Absolutely. If we knew what people were doing in their different locations.
Yeah, and I'm just going to add to that real quick because one of the things that I had in mind as well, I was like, okay, you know what? Forum after forum, you hear 60 million Nigerians are underserved. So if you're not sharing information about where you're putting the power at, that figure is never going to change because year after year, it's going to be 60 million people because we don't know what people are doing. Okay, I feel very passionate about that because I need power. Carlos, I'm going to come to you in 1 second. Okay, so the second question is, must the power generated for mini grids be solar driven? If no, has REA explored LPG, which is butane, I think, fired power generation? Okay, sorry, question's a bit. So must the power generated for mini grids be solar driven? I guess that's one question. If not, has REA explored butane fired power generation? Yeah.
LPG, like liquefied petroleum gas.
I believe so.
We don't really discriminate for our grants because we have DFIs. They can specify on renewables. For the World Bank, it has to be a solar mini grid hybrid project. For the project that we have with private developers in Arera market is gas fired using CNG, compressed natural gas. The project we have on Surah market is also powered by natural gas. At the end of the day, the customer or the Nigerian doesn't really care where they're getting power from. So we prefer it to be solar hybrid because it's cleaner. But if there are gas solutions because of the load that people need, we are happy to do that. It's just that we don't have grant funding for that element.
Okay, so I have another question. In fact, I have two questions. They're very similar, actually. One is from Lani Sheikh, so I'm just going to take them as one question. And the other one is from Negesti Sheba. And both questions pretty much ask that why is REA why is all available facilities that REA is working on concentrating on solar, and that renewable energy is not just limited to solar? So you kind of answered that just now, but yeah.
Again, it's the financing that we've gone to. There's other facilities apart from REA facilities that look at wind, small hydro, that look at waste as well. But we took a concerted effort to kind of focus and get one right. And that's where the funding was, and that's what we're doing.
Excellent. So you can take a deep breath. The next question is not for you, thank God. But before we go to Michael, that next question is for you. I'm just going to let Carl, you were going to make a quick point
yes.
just now. Yes.
No, on data, I think that it is important. Yeah, when we look at market intelligence, we speak about that market intelligence. We have been doing a lot on determining what the potential of the market is, but we have not been that like covering the other part of it, which is the status of the markets. Yeah? From our side, we are supporting the monitoring, for example, of mini grids. We know that I mean, roughly there are around 40 mini grids here in Nigeria, like the purely off-grid ones in rural areas, yeah, and that should be, in terms of capacity, it should be around 1 megawatt. All this information anyways, like more accurate information, will be available soon once from our side we have finalized all the work on the monitoring methodology. Yeah? Hopefully the problem is for mini-grids it's easy, for solar home systems it's much more complicated, but maybe it's possible. Yeah, we know that in GIZ in Rwanda has been supporting it. Yes.
We don't want to be as focused on megawatts anymore. We want to be focused on connections.
Absolutely.
And the amount of people. So if you have 100 kilowatts, but they suppose 5,000 people, I'd rather report 5,000 people than 100 kilowatts. I think some people skew how much you've done, not really understanding the energy demand of your customer.
Excellent. Thank you. So if you've got questions, please get them ready. I'm going to take one more question from the WhatsApp, then I'm going to come back to the audience. So the next question is for
Michael.
Mr. Sterling. Hello, my name is Bashir Maidugu. My question is to Mr. Michael Nwachukwu. You mentioned that your bank, the Sterling Bank, also invests in equity in renewable energy, and you even gave an example of Zola Electric. Is this not a violation of the CBN's directive on banks to concentrate only on core banking businesses? Think very carefully before you answer. You can, right?
Well,
So, I mean, someone said to me earlier today, like, you know, Jade, if you say certain things, you know, you're in Abuja, they will just be waiting for you downstairs. So they might not be waiting for me, they might be waiting for you.
Well, yes. We no longer do universal banking, I agree, but there are models that allow us to be able to make such investments. It's not directly a banking, investment, but however, we're able to pool funds and make investments into, such projects. So by and large, it is indeed possible. However, I have one of my staff behind. I'll shed some light on it. John, please give him the phone.
Okay, John, shed some light. John has become the fifth member of the panel.
All right. Mr. Bashir that asked the question is probably right, that if it was Sterling Bank as the bank itself doing equity investment, that would be a violation of CBN rules. Okay. But Sterling Bank also there's an alternative banking arm to Sterling Bank, which is NIB, non-interest banking, which is alternative finance arm of the bank that serves as a vehicle to do some other forms of investment that the typical universal bank won't be able to do. So Sterling Bank as an alternative finance arm, non-interest banking or Islamic finance, whichever way you want to call it, that can take on investments that the conventional arm won't be able to do. And also, there are other financing, there are other financial models, creative financial models, investment models that the bank employs to grow the sector.
Thank you very much, John.
I want to ask, we've talked about donors at the moment driving support to renewable energy, essentially solar. I want to ask, has the Rural Electrification Authority thought about, and perhaps the association, have they given a thought to some sort of an exit plan? I'm worried. Worried in the sense that in the last 50 years of my life, I've seen USID, DFID, GIZ, CEDA investing in agriculture, supporting agricultural sector, and they are still there. So what exit plan do we have about donors exiting so that we can have a proper market? That is one. Secondly, the issue of subsidy. Don't you think subsidy is a disincentive to market development. Because the moment you have a subsidy in a sector, what it means is that investors are not driven by the fact that they are going to make profit, but rather, look, I'm going to get a subsidy even if I fail. So how do we best develop a market where you can have crowd in and crowd out that is properly determined by demand and supply that is sustainable?
Excellent question. Thank you very much.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. My name is Mojid Kolawole Omolaja. I happen to be the chairman, National Association of Nigerian Students, FCC chapter. Please, my question goes to Mr. Michael because I actually fell in love with your articulacy and your vibrancy. How do you think you can be able to come up with the solution of power in our institution, especially in FCT University, because which happens to be the only conventional university in Nigeria? The management of our institution, they actually believe in diesel because they make more money from diesel. And this actually have a negative effect. It has a negative effect on the students because probably if you want to go and study at night, you find out that there is no lights. Then how do you think you can be able to read, assimilate, and contribute to nation building? And that actually has contributed to social vices because if you want to study, you don't have lights, you burn midnight candle, and peradventure, you join your colleagues in clubbing or probably chasing girls around. How do you think can be able to provide a solution? Because society that we have, we only justify or based on our contribution to society.
Thank you very much.
And I want to give kudos and credence to the organizer of this event. Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you very much, Mojid.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Obiefuna. I'm the National Secretary of Nigeria Infrastructure Development Association. My question is not too different from the second to the last questioner. I want to ask Ms. Damilola, the investments your agency is making, because our country seems to be going in every direction at the same time. The power sector, somebody told us sometime that it has been, government has privatized it. And power is power, whether it's in the city or it's in the rural place or it's in anywhere. So if your agency, is it privatized, and you're having projects, and projects are being funded, what are your tariff structures like, or your business models like? Is it running in parallel to NEC, or are you under NEC, or are you a private? Is it, let me summarize.
I think we get it. I think we kind of get.
No. Let me summarize in a nutshell. How do you derive your tariffs, and how do you hope to make this project sustainable?
In terms of donors giving support, I don't really see what the issue is. It's how most countries have developed, and I don't see how Nigeria will be more different. What we have to make sure is the whole off-grid sector is sustainable, regardless. It's not if USAID or World Bank or anybody comes in. But the fact that the World Bank gave the largest amount of money they've ever given to the off-grid to Nigeria is actually a point you should celebrate instead of looking at it as something that is bad. At the end of the day, there's like a 20-year projection on how we think at a certain point the sector will be sustainable. But there are places, just like we have on-grid, even in America, that's always been subsidized for electricity. It's not a Nigerian thing, and I mean, I think that brings me to the issue of subsidies or no subsidies. The problem is how you effect subsidy. It is not that subsidy is a bad word. America, UK, and most of Europe is still subsidizing their power sector today. It's just how they do it in a nice, transparent way. So in terms of REA, for the solar mini-grid component, you have to have finished your project. We pay you on connection 3 months after you finish. So you can't, we don't give you money at the beginning saying whenever if you don't finish, you don't get the money. So it is really, really important that we should stop looking at subsidy as a bad word. It is how we implement the subsidy and the transparency we bring to the entire process that is important. But for us, we do have a trajectory, which is what people are discussing today, of when we hope that most of the markets can be viable. However, there will still be some people, there will still be like your 8% that need subsidy of some kind to be able to make the power affordable.
Excellent.
Like in the power sector, you have seen, like for solar, for example, off-grid, yeah, you have seen a real evolution when it comes, for example, to solar home systems. Solar home systems used capital subsidies in the past. Now it's like capital, like subsidy free, yeah, completely free. Yes, you still have government support here and there on technical assistance parts and everything, but the market is commercially driven. You can only like go to Lagos CNI projects, for example. They are just popping up based on bilateral agreements between private entities, yeah. Mini grids is where there is need for subsidies now, but hopefully little by little, yeah, this will also phase out. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Carlos. Okay, so the next question is from Mojid. I think this will, it was directed to Michael, but I also think Damilola has a part because, I mean, you're energizing education. So that should kind of like work for what he's asking. So yeah, so powering institutions, and then I also let you talk about that as well.
The institutions are really important to us. I mean, the universities, especially the federal universities, is very important to us as a government. So that is why we started energizing education, putting independent power plants. But we don't only put independent power plants, which could be solar or gas. We also illuminate the entire campus so students can feel safe and even want to go out at night. And like I said, we do the training center. And one of the things we notice is when we build this nice power plant and you look at the systems already in the universities, we realized we had to upgrade the entire distribution infrastructure in the university to be able to take the power we're providing. So in terms of the federal universities, we're getting there. Hopefully, you know, I think Abuja phase 2. Yeah, Abuja is actually phase 2 of what we're doing. And you know, all I can do is sympathize on you right now, but the truth is the government is answering your plea, and your other university students in Kanu or Eboyi, and some of them will say that they are enjoying 24-hour power. For the first time, the exams have not been interrupted by power supply.
And I know I've seen a few people taking selfies in Kano, like, you know, yeah, look at us. We've got like, don't worry, you'll still be taking your own selfies too in Abuja. So, okay, the next question was also for you, Dami. Okay, Michael, just, is there anything very briefly?
Yeah, basically we've had talks with the University of Abuja as well. We've dropped some proposals there. And the thinking is to do a biomass where the human waste from the school will also help generate power. Like a like a hybrid as well for the university. But right now, those talks are still ongoing. And once they give us buy-in, we're ready to deploy. And we don't have to go 100% funding. We can have some funding structures put in place with the university.
Excellent, thank you. So, Dami, I think the last question was also for you. Investments from REA, is it privatized? And then, you know, how is it running parallel to NERC? The tariff structure. Thank you.
REA is not a private company. I wish. REA is a fully fledged federal government agency, agency by law, the electricity law, set up REA. REA has 6 zonal offices to help it operate. The mini-grid sector is actually regulated by NERC, as we are, because we're an agent of a power company, so all our audited accounts, everything has to still go to our regulator. In terms of the tariff, to get a mini-grid permit, you have to show your tariff and your model. I can't tell you this is which tariff or what is that tariff, because tariffs vary depending on community and where they go and rates of affordability. What we envisioned is not cheap power, but affordable power for the community, and that's what we try and get by the subsidy. But it's really the regulator that has to review all the proposals and to do with tariff and say, yes, because we're happy with this person's model and this person's holistic plan, we will give them a permit. So we can want to work with a developer, but if they don't get a permit for NERC, unfortunately, we can't do that. Because we're not above the law.
Thank you very much, Dami. So I'm going to take some questions very quickly from the WhatsApp. And there's some questions that are like very similar. So I'm kind of like, just because of time, I'm going to merge them. A good question from Adama Anizuba, Green Max Capital Advisors. What steps are the players in the sector taking to ensure that the off-grid market is environmentally sustainable? Is there anything being done to ensure that environmental issues do not arise in the future, such as material and energy storage recycling? So I'm going to direct that to you.
All right, thank you. So Ryan, with some other stakeholders, formed an alliance called Alliance for Responsible Battery Recycling. And we just, we've gotten the permission of Nextier. Ministry of Environment also has given the nod, and the organization is registered. Our plan is to make it mandatory for, what we call extended producer responsibility, if I'm correct, to ensure that all our members, in a very short while, all batteries that are deployed by our members, both for standalone systems, mini grids, they will ensure proper recycling. What's going on right now is unimaginable. And it didn't start with solar. It started with the inverter system. There are thousands and whatever battery that is being irresponsibly recycled. They break it, and just extract what they want to extract, then lead, acid all over the whole place, and probably polluting the water you're drinking. Sorry, I'm making a case. But going forward, there will be a scheme in place to ensure that all batteries that are, deployed are responsibly recycled. So if I deploy for a barber, I will take responsibility to ensure that that battery comes back to me, and I take it to a proper recycling center.
Excellent, thank you. Next question is from Austin from General Electric. Now, Austin sent multiple questions, but I'm just going to try and condense it. So the first question is for Dami. What keeps you awake with respect to increasing the off-grid solutions footprint in Nigeria? And then, have we also considered including this in our curriculum at different levels of education? So I'll let you quickly take that one.
Okay, I'll start with the education piece. That's really important for me. I used to head the electricity board on the state level, and we have this thing called Lagos Power Kids for kids between 11 and 13, because we're trying to encourage them before they get to SS to choose more STEM-based projects. We also have 180 wonderful STEM students at each of the universities we're deploying the projects to. They work within the project, so all these girls can say they actually build a power plant, which puts them far ahead of other people. But we can do more. Like I said, we have training centers and things, but we've actually written curriculum for our education ministries that we feel can start from even the primary school level, so everyone can start thinking at least on energy efficiency and then move them up. These are very, very smart children, and we just hope to continue that. Sorry, next question.
What keeps you awake with respect to increasing the
what keeps me awake is that we have 550 billion and we have not deployed anything. Because what Carlos said is that it takes ages to get money, and once you get money, everybody wants to see the projects. And there's a timeline to do solar mini-grid projects, so getting people in to sign on to the program, getting financiers to fund the programs so we can start spending this money. Because once you start spending money, it also breeds this ecosystem for private sector to also give you money. So that's what keeps me awake.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So Austin also has, this is him volunteering to you, Shegun, and your association. He's got experience in the oil and gas space and local content, and he would like to bring that experience to renewable energy. So Austin, you probably can see him after for you guys to have this conversation. One other question I have here is from Fola from Orange Business Solutions. This is again for Damilola. We appreciate the efforts of REA, but I feel they should invest more in communicating to Nigeria on the wonderful programs that they have. And then can REA also invest in getting consultants that will help the SMEs to be able to meet up document requirements and merge similar companies together on projects, blah, blah, blah. So that's
In terms of communications, I probably would agree. I think in terms of any MDA, though, we probably have the best website: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. Like if you're looking, I think if you even type in renewable energy, you will see REA come up. The issue as well is what you spend money on. When you tell people this is what a comms budget should be, and they say, well, my village in Sokoto has not been electrified, you have to weigh it up. And those are the challenges with government. But we have an amazing comm team, and we do have a comms consultant who's sitting over there, Awele. And but we need to continue and we need to better it. And I think that's what we will be doing moving forward. In terms of getting another consultant to tell an SME what to do, I don't really believe in it. I think come to REA, ask us what you need, and we'll help you facilitate. I don't think we need consultants to do that.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Now, one other question again for Damilola. What's the tariff structure for completed projects, for example, in the universities?
Well, university project is different. It is funded by government for a government facility. So the tariff structure is irrelevant right now because it would only cover the OPEX because it's government paying government for something that we should be doing, which is powering our very important institutions.
Excellent. Okay, just one second and then
quickly
we'll
add to, I mean, what that kind of a project has done is to open the market for private sector, commercially driven installations. For example, we're talking to a university in the southern part of Nigeria. They have agreed, they're looking at the project size, and they say, let's start with solar street lights, and they roll out about almost 60 double bulkhead solar street light, and it's very interesting to see the university at night. So now the next phase is to say, how can we power the whole university? So, yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so I'm going to take maybe like one or, like, I can honestly only take 2 more questions.
I'm not going to be a prophet of doom because I know that everybody sitting here, there's been a lot done. So I'm going to start with Michael. I must say that Sterling Bank has done a lot of job. I actually got a funding, not a corporate funding, but through your bank, through the Spectre platform, to do some stuff with a German company. That's one. Then REA, in 2013, we actually did a project in Wuse Market, which was a pilot project for the one you're doing now. And it didn't go further. But now, then at that time, we worked with Standard Organization of Nigeria, and we were able to do a lot of human capacity building where we got German component manufacturers to help with standardization at that time. So I'm asking, is it something, we work with about 40 of them now from Europe and the US. Is this something that we can help to volunteer to REA in terms of human capacity building?
Thank you. My name is Sean Energy. I think my question should be for Shegun. Standards and regulations. You mentioned that if an uncertified installer install should go to jail, if you allow, you should go to jail. But who will take them to jail, right? So it's beautiful to have all these standards and regulations, but who is going to enforce them? Thank you.
Thank you so much. I only cited an example of another country, which is Kenya. So I'm not saying replicate here. But if Nigeria says we want to adopt this, why not? I mean, so if a normal society, we have lawmakers and those who enforce the law and those who, so if you go against the law, the judiciary should take the necessary step, so get you sanctioned and apply the law. Right.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Like, we're literally, okay, so.
You said you want to help us, right? So I assume everything will be free. So of course we'll be happy to take any capacity building help that you're willing to help us.
Excellent.
We appreciate it.
Thank you very much, everyone. Can I have a round of applause for the panel? Like, it's been fantastic tonight. Thank you very much. So we're going to try and still bring this to a close in 3 minutes, exactly. So I'm going to give each of the panelists, so Carlos, you'll have a chance now. So each of the panelists, like 30 seconds, like literally I'll be counting. Like TikTok. 30 seconds.
In conclusions?
Yes, so like I'm going to give everyone 30 seconds to like give their final thoughts on the subject, wrap it up, and then we'll call it a night. So Carlos, your 30 seconds starts now.
Okay, then like from my side, I would say that next steps when it comes to mini grids, we are already implementing them thanks to the government's plans here, but it's to unlock access to finance and to then ensure the capacity of absorption from companies here in Nigeria. All of this is strongly related to data, which is generating data from the potential side, but also generating data on existing mini-grids, learning from the existing mini-grids, improving on the performance of the mini-grids to make them more profitable, to unlock access to finance, yeah?
Thank you very much, Carlos. Thank you. Shegun, 30 seconds.
Right. For me, I believe the revolution has started already. I hope I can use that word. Yeah, I mean,
this is Abuja.
Solar revolution. I'm allowed to use solar revolution. It's used all over the world, right? Then the market has taken off. There are projects that you can cite. I mean, across the value chain, right from the smallest to the biggest. The template that we should deploy is already existing. We're already using that model. A situation where virtually everybody in this room will have a generator, and then you are spending gradually to fund that generator. Or the model of everybody in this room, I believe, have a mobile phone, where you also pay as you go. So that structure, that framework is already in existence. It's just for all of us to plug into it.
Absolutely.
And I'm happy that I'm around at this time to see this business and this industry take off.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Well said. So I'm going to let the lady end the night, but I'm going to come to you now, Mr. Sterling.
I know. Okay. I would say that we are here for the long haul at Sterling Bank. We're more than just a bank. We're a platform. And renewable energy is at the core of our business model, business ideology, business strategy, everything you can think of. So basically, and we have done a lot. You can go to Kaduna, you see our footprints. Go to Plateau at night, you see how beautiful it is because of what we've done in this space. And there are countless projects we've done and we're willing to do. I must also add that at some point we've said no, we've said maybe, we said not this time, but it doesn't mean that we're not committed to the sector. Our ultimate aim is to drive down the cost of financing, the cost of borrowing, so that it will be next to single digits, so that we can have the largest amount of impacts. So having said that, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Michael. Thank you. And Damilola, your final words?
I'd just like to say Nigeria is ready for business. Like, we're ready. Like, you see, most of these guys that work with me in 20 years' time, they won't even be 45. So we're here for the long run. The policies there might not be perfect, but please, please communicate with us, email us, tweet us. Let us know what your issues are so we can work together to resolve it and have a successful off-grid energy sector.
Thank you very much. So,
good evening, everyone. I'm sure we thoroughly engaged ourselves in this discussion. I'm certain when we come back next year, we'll be hopeful and we'll see progress. We can attest to more progress. But in Nigeria, we would like to witness an enabling environment. Damilola mentioned policy just now, a few seconds ago. We would like to see better access to local financing, as well as innovative models, to meet the need of the off-grid, as well as the on-grid market. For example, models such as interconnected mini-grids can leverage on emerging regulations, such as distribution franchising and eligible customer. Starboard at the back, AEDC.
Wizkid.
And we'll say community, they've done it, so others can follow suit. A big thank you to the panelists for their well-defined and thought-provoking contribution to the discussion. Thank you to the moderator as well. We'd like to know what we've done and what we did and we didn't do well, so you can hit us up and let us know your thoughts. There's a survey link. I'm not sure it's at the back of the cue card, but you can check the Nigeria Electricity Hub and follow up. On behalf of Nextier Power, the Mark Otola Foundation, I'd like to extend my appreciation to the audience, the organizing team of this event. Thank you for sharing your evening with us. It's been a great pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much.